Is it lawful to pray behind an Imam with Sufi belief? And he specified that he does a lot of bid'ahs and shirk. I would like to be specific. I'm always reluctant and I'm afraid to accuse people of shirk simply because somebody said this is shirk, or we hear rumors about the person. I like to verify things before judging others. I don't like to be judgmental in the first place, but you're talking about somebody whom I'm going to pray behind him. So people say that he does this and this and that. He said that he believes in Waliullah. I believe in Waliullah. All Muslims believe that Allah has awliya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, أَلَا إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. Every person who is a true believer, who fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and keeps his duty to him, is a wali to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Means Allah supports him, Allah protects him. In the sacred hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that Allah the Almighty said, مَنْ عَادَ لِي وَلِيًّا فَقَدْ عَادَانِي. Whoever opposes or declares enmity against one of my awliya whom I protect, then he's actually opposing me. Can anyone afford that? Of course not. But this is the right understanding of al-walaya. The false understanding of certain people who go to the graves in order to seek the blessing from dead people, even if those dead people were the most righteous people on earth. That's completely prohibited. And as a matter of fact, there are straightforward verses from the Quran and a hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who prohibited that. And if any person still goes to anyone who's dead and talk to him in his grave and ask for his help, this practice is plain shirk. Okay? If somebody does so and we explain to him and say, well, I believe in that and I'm going to continue doing that, then he chose to be practicing an act of shirk. I'm sorry, I won't be able to pray behind you because your belief or your aqidah is corrupt, is deficient. So the person chose to oppose Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How can he lead the prayer? Unfortunately, this is very common in many places in the Muslim world. And it really amazes me, it is very astonishing that if these people have the least knowledge and they know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran and what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, they will know that they are actually doing entirely the opposite and opposing Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So please, those brothers or those Muslims who are not educated enough in the deen and they follow the traditions of perhaps their foreparents or their cultural traditions unknowingly, without really verifying whether this is right or this is wrong. Once in a while we have a commemoration of the birth or the death of a wali, and we have a party where people gather to smoke and eat some halwa, and they make some songs and they dance in order to commemorate the remembrance of that person. They dance with adhkar and so on. This is not Islam. That has nothing to do with Islam. Imam al-Hussein, may Allah have mercy on him, his birth is celebrated in 3 different countries. Celebrated in Iraq, celebrated in Syria, is celebrated in Egypt, and each place claimed that his body is here or there. In Egypt, they have a place, and his so-called grave is inside one of the very prominent masajid, where people come from various parts of the world literally to perform pilgrimage there. And they make tawaf around these stations. There is no tawaf except around the Kaaba. And one should not ask for any help from other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know that where Imam al-Hussein was martyred, may Allah be pleased with him. So how could you have appear for him in Iraq, and another one in Syria, and another one in Egypt. They say that, well, his head flew to Egypt, and it landed there. We have no confirmation whatsoever of all of that, even if we know for sure. The beginning of this episode, when I answered the question about Prophet Daniel, it is very interesting that Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu ardah, when the grave and the body of Prophet Daniel surfaced in the village, Tastur, he immediately ordered Abu Musa al-Ash'ari and the companions to conceal his grave. So they dug several graves and they buried him in one of them, so nobody knows. Why? So that people would not aim at that grave with worship.